So you want to work in big tech companies like Google and Facebook, or create your own startup like Airbnb and Instagram? OmniQuotient is here to help. OmniQuotient is an online learning platform where you can learn something new from prominent developers every day while creating meaningful connections with them. Just go to omniquotient.com. Follow the topics that you want to learn and the developers you want to learn from. Share your tips and tricks in coding and interact with other developers. Join the OmniQuotient community today.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CTOsDiscuss. I'd like to call this Saturday night chill edition.
Hanging out lang, hanging out.
Yeah, hanging out. So tonight, we want to talk about, Jerb and I last week were thinking, what could we do for a topic this
What's a
coming
fun
Saturday?
topic?
Yeah, it's a fun topic. And suddenly out of nowhere, he said, hey, how about we talk about like conspiracy theories and stuff? And I was like, ooh, interesting. Like that brought me back to my college and 10 years ago, like the things that the crazy stuff in the internet that I discovered that blew my mind, right? Or were they actually true? I don't know. Actually, I have no idea. And tonight will not be the night where we will say this is true and this is not true.
Yeah.
But tonight
These
we'll
are not
just
facts.
yeah.
We don't know. We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know. That's the thing. But we will definitely talk about the craziest things that we've heard and we've looked into over the many years. And so just join us in this chill night. And if you have some crazy conspiracy theories or even just conspiracy theories that you've heard about, feel free to put them in the comments. And also, just a disclaimer, just a caution, no one please be too serious tonight. This is just for fun. Don't be too serious. All right. So have
This
your
for discussion's sake lang to, guys. And,
Yeah.
humor or entertainment, right? Or intellectual discussion.
what? Yeah. Let's do this. Okay. So
Okay, game, Bert.
let's dive straight into it, Jerb. Like, what's the first thing you want to talk about? Like, let's talk about what's the first conspiracy theory that you got yourself, drawn by?
I don't know if it's theory or it's a conspiracy, kasi conspiracy kasi is something like you're trying to hide something that's true, right? And then something, right? But I don't know if you've heard of the show Ancient Aliens, no? So I want to talk about aliens.
Okay, let's talk about aliens.
Do you believe in aliens, right? Ikaw muna, Bert. Do you believe in aliens?
Oh man, that stuff. Do I believe in aliens? I feel like I want it. I want that aliens to exist. I want aliens to exist.
Yeah.
I kind of want it. Like, I don't know if they do. It's hard to tell, but I kind of want them to exist because it feels so
Lonely.
part of it. Yeah, feels a bit lonely. Actually, feels so weird if we're so special. Like if truly we're just alone, that means we're truly special.
Yeah,
If we are,
yeah.
it's a little bit terrifying at the same time, right? Like it sounds.
It is scary. It is scary, right? We're alone in the universe. The known universe, right, is so huge, and there's still a lot of things we don't know, right? Kaya nga siya, there's this scientific term of known universe because that's what we're seeing right now, right? And what sobrang liit, grabe naman nung chance na the only planet that is no, actually there's many livable planets, right? There's many, that's why people are looking at parang Earth-like planets na, di ba, like scientists or no, not scientists, scientists and astrologists, etc. They look at places that are like Earth, right? And baka ang ano naman ng chance na Earth lang, like the solar system that we know is the only one that has life, diba? So I think it's possible, but we don't know, right? We don't know.
Talking about how big the universe is, right? The known universe on the perspective, how big it is. I've actually tried to like make myself comprehend this by bringing it to a scale that I can understand. So I said, if Earth, like this whole planet Earth, was the size of a grain of sand, okay? And I put this grain of sand in the middle of SM Mega Mall, right?
Oh, okay.
Or just in the
That's
middle
a
of
huge one.
SM Mega Mall. Yeah, the biggest mall I could think of. Put it in the middle of SM Mega Mall, right? That grain of sand. How big would the universe be? And so I did
Mm-hmm.
my calculations and all. Well, it's actually bigger than the mall. Not only bigger than the mall, but it's actually bigger than Manila. Not only bigger than Manila, it's actually bigger than the Philippines. I actually measured it, bro. It's actually bigger than the solar system. Like you would go all the way to the end of the solar system and it would still be bigger, 70 times bigger.
And the sand that you mentioned is not our solar system, it's just Earth.
Yeah, it's just Earth.
It's
I was like,
huge, diba?
yeah, it's super huge. I was like, dang, dang. And then to tell me, like, could aliens exist? I was like, aliens have to exist. I mean,
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
on, come on, come on.
Yeah, diba? What are the chances na we're the only ones nga, an intelligent life form
Yeah.
in a planet that has, all the necessary things to actually nurture life, diba? So, grabe naman yan. So, I think it's definitely possible. Now, the conspiracy theories are that the government is hiding them, right? Or
Ooh.
like parang itong yun nga, like a lot of people know about Area 51 because it's in the movies, right? Parang pop culture. And then I remember nga, was this last year or 2019 na people actually had a movement to occupy Area 20, like
Oh,
Area
I remember
51?
this. I remember this. The Naruto guy, the one who was running like Naruto guy in front of the security guard.
It's
I remember that.
crazy. But who knows, right? And then yun nga, parang the reason why people always think about it because it's always in movies, 'di ba? And yun, so parang we're getting technology from alien technology now, the things that, we've learned, all of that things.
Talking about aliens, bro, I've actually
Mm.
started to see these things in my feeds, and I don't know if it's just the friends that I follow or whatever. Like, I started to see these things in my feed about like UFOs, about like this, disclosures from the past records of like U.S. Navy or something where
Yeah.
Navy pilots have been seeing like flying objects that that don't seem to obey the laws of physics. Like they change acceleration and direction, like as if there is no physics acting on them, right? Like you
Yeah, so it's
brake
not
and
a
then you go back.
meteor, it's not no.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
like, what? And then so there's like disclosures going on, and so that's actually interesting. Like it's like, I wonder like how do you reconcile that, right? Like you those unidentified flying objects.
Yeah.
And part of me either it's only two possibilities. While one unlikely is like it's a human technology that's just unknown to the public.
Mm.
Second, I mean three possibilities. Second is just like somebody's like hallucinating or whatever, but showing up in
Yeah.
instruments. And then third is like not human technology. And to me, that's the more exciting part.
Yeah, so this crazy part about the not a part, but the crazy thing about that show in History Channel, itong Ancient Aliens.
Okay, let's talk about
So
that. I haven't watched that, so
it's a
enlighten
good
me.
one. If I don't know if we want to call it enlighten, but it would make you stay curious kasi about things. So it's a good it's a good mind
So tell me, what
exercise,
is
I guess.
one ancient alien episode that you like?
Yeah, so talking about that, 'di ba, if there were aliens, then they would have wanted to visit us already, right?
Okay.
So, and the theory is that they did that before na daw, no? During the
Ah,
time of the Incas,
okay.
the Egypt, for example, and
Okay.
even to the point of like the biblical events,
Okay.
right? I remember, Bert, when we were in church, I think 2008 or 2009, we talked about Genesis, diba? There's this
Uh-huh.
verse there that describes that the sound of rushing rivers. Ikaw yun eh. Naalala ko
Oh,
talaga, ikaw
yes,
yung
yes, yes.
nagsasabi nun
No, this is not
na,
Genesis. This is in Ezekiel, where
or is it?
talks about the vision of Ezekiel,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah,
talks
yeah.
about like how his vision of angels, and he described these angels about like having circles and and many eyes and
Madaming eyes.
the sound of like rushing waters. And I remember saying like, oh, what if it's like a spaceship going like it's like how would you describe that, right? This is the sound of many waters. And
Yeah,
so
kasi
I do remember that. I do remember talking about that.
so this series talks about those things, no, that those were not like all those biblical events were actually accounts of parang visitation, parang alien visitation, right? Na
Yeah.
like they
Yeah.
could be that they were teaching us something, right? And the thing is, like, dragons din daw. Like, kasi if, for example, like even today, right? If you go to the Amazon, there are tribes that haven't been reached by civilization, right?
By the
if
way, I'm just gonna put it here.
helicopter,
Just a disclaimer for those that's joining in right now. Like we have no idea what we're talking about. We're just sharing stuff, random stuff, having fun.
we're just
okay.
speculating.
Don't take us too seriously. All right.
Yeah,
Go
we're
ahead,
just
Term. The
having
tribes
fun,
in the
guys.
Amazons. Go again.
Diba?
Tribes in
This
the
one's for a fact. This is a fact.
Okay.
Diba? So there are
After I disclaimer,
unreached-
you just say as fact. Okay, that's interesting.
Okay,
go.
Di ba meron pa ring tribes that aren't reached yet, right? Like,
Right.
in fact, we don't want to even send people there kasi a lot of the diseases that we carry in our bodies, we kind of grown antibodies na, di ba?
Okay.
But if we go there and bring those diseases to those people, they might die, etc., etc. So, going back, no? So, if people see a helicopter or a plane, they
Yeah.
would describe that according to their known
Understanding.
set of words, diba? So it could be
Yeah.
a bird, diba? It could be a dragon. And so in Ezekiel's description, when he described na rushing waters, rubies, diba? Those could be lights of
Yes.
an alien spaceship, diba?
Yes.
And even dragons birth, like other gods as well, like Shiva the destroyer, etc. Sa like dragons also in Chinese, parang ano ba, mythology ba yan? Describe also na breathing out fire, but could that be like engines, right? That actually were, shooting in the sky. Kita-kita mo parang it's like fire. So that's
even
the
in
theory.
Even in the book of Revelation, right? There's a book of Revelation. It talks about many things, and one of which during the Great Tribulation, out will come giant locusts, right? Their sting is so like painful, right? Like, and it's a sound of like rushing waters as well, and I remember like it says like it has like its head or its eyes were like of gold, and it's like it has like I think an eagle and a lion, like the face of an eagle and a lion. And I was like, dang, this is like describing an Apache helicopter with like the lion and the eagle painting. And Apache helicopters do tend to have like that gold plating, like part of their cockpit.
Para sa sun and something. Siguro.
And I was like, yeah, if somebody from like
ancient,
before John wrote Book of Revelation.
Yeah,
and he was having like visions of the future.
Yeah.
Which that is already supernatural in itself, right? So that's another question of like how he had that. But if he was indeed having visions of the future, like he could be describing an Apache helicopter or some sort of like, So let's like think about that. And also like there's this part of like where the New Jerusalem, right, is going down like into the earth. Like it's
it could be like a mothership.
Yeah, I was like, this is like I could imagine like the background music of that going dun 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 dun.
Star Wars music.
Dun, dun. I don't know. I'm just my cinematography, my biblical background, and also my
sound
science,
design,
science fiction background is all coming together here.
Yeah, it is, diba? Possible. Like, or parang you could consider it. The thing with Revelation, though, Bert, is that it's a prophecy, right? Something in the future. But the thing about the Old Testament and everything else, no. So there's the Christian, the Christian Bible, and then there's other religious manuscripts and writings as well, no. And this show documents all of that. Now these are actually visitations of aliens. The other theory is that these weren't aliens, but these were actually us.
Time travel?
Yes, bro. Di ba sobrang wow. O nga, no, pwede nga. Parang we came back, no, we like obviously in the future we might have a way to go back in time, and actually time travel is also a good thing to discuss. Because so far what we know is that traveling to the future is possible, theoretically possible. Traveling to the past has many problems. But this show describes that it could be that these are actually humans, no, that went back to in the past to actually guide
That's
the
news to me, bro. Like that's
civilization.
my brain is like going, what? Like,
Ang galing, magaling. Okay siya na show.
interesting.
It has a lot of, I don't know if it's a movie, parang plot hole, but syempre, I mean,
Yeah.
it's entertainment, right? But yeah, we're talking
Yeah,
about
yeah.
conspiracy theories, guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, ang galing. Like, ano daw, ano
But
daw, humans daw yon
that's
from the
interesting.
future.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember it could be like the one in Ezekiel he's describing. It could just be like a spacecraft, and the guy's wearing like some sort of suit, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't like you don't have to show your face. Maybe he's trying to prevent the diseases from the future, wiping out the mankind from that era.
Yeah. Pero yun yung problema sa going back in the past Like, right? Like, if you go back in the past, there's this, ano, di ba, parang, what's this, the grandfather uh,
Paradox.
paradox, yeah? So if you go back in the past and do something in the past that actually affects your future. So in the grandfather paradox, if you go back in time and kill your grandfather before before your father was conceived, then did you exist or did you actually do it? Diba? Kasi,
Yeah.
yun nga, parang, so in this case, no, so if us from the future going back in the past, fixing something that, we don't want to happen in the future, see, parang, why is it still happening now? Parang
Yeah,
ganun.
I vaguely remember there's a show that's something like this. The premise is that
Is this
you can go
Tenet?
back. No, but you can go back like way into the past, but your mandate is like nobody can know and you can't like touch anything. Like it's almost like you're just visiting and you cannot like
Observer
interact.
lang. Observer ka
Yeah,
lang.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I forgot the exact anyways. Like too bad I can't remember.
Yeah, so si Avengers also kinds of explains this, right?
Yeah, they
Yung
explain it with like the multi
yung nagba-branch, 'di
streams
ba?
of
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So anyway, so that's something that I wanted to discuss in this episode. Ikaw, anong naisip mong parang interesting conspiracy
Oh
that you
no,
have been
mine.
following before?
Okay, well, I'll come clean, right? Like I'll come clean and share exactly like what are the things that I filled my mind with, and what I kind of like was like, what really, and I kind of talked about, and I still don't know if it's true or not. But there was a time in my life where I really believed that, and I don't know what I believe now, but right, like there was a time when I really believed that the twin towers, like the 9/11 one, were really
Oh,
like not by terrorists, but really
the US then.
by some sort of like group that wanted to do this to start a war with the Middle East, or like start with the war with, yeah, to start a war period.
Yeah.
And so I really like, I think I watched too many videos
Yeah,
that
there's
was,
plenty.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I've
the
heard about
truth.
this one. I've heard about this one.
I think that was my first exposure. I was kind of young. I was college, I believe, or something. And when I started to get these things, I don't think there was YouTube back then. I'm not so sure. But I started to read up on these things in forums, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know the truth. And it's a cool thing about, well, that's
I'm
actually
woke.
yeah, that's the attractive thing about conspiracy theories. Like, no, I know the truth. Not everybody knows it. Like, I
Yeah.
have this truth that, like, like, it makes me feel like I
Oo nga.
am
I'm woke.
more, I'm yeah,
I'm
I'm woke, I know the truth, I'm higher, like I feel like, I can walk with like, yeah, you guys are
walk,
sheep.
walk us through the Bert. Walk us through the theory. Like how and why
Okay, this is
why
like
why did they do it?
this is over a decade ago, so I'm trying to pick up the pieces here. Okay, so
Mm.
I've things that I recall, I remember that, well, the main thing for me was that when it collapsed, the argument there was that it collapsed so fast, like it was like a demolition job. right?
Mm.
Like there was like explosives and like it was a controlled demolition instead of like an actual like it it collapsed an hour after being hit, but because it collapsed kind of like an hour after it got hit by the planes, right? And so like how could it collapse an hour after, like, and collapse so fast and quick? And obviously in my ordinary citizen judgment, just by looking at it without having any civil engineering expertise or how actually structural engineering or how buildings actually work, I mean, like, so obvious, that's a controlled demolition. Because it went down so fast, like it's almost like
Yeah.
free fall. And so that was my like, okay, so then that's kind of like the root of like the belief, the conspiracy, that if it was a controlled demolition, therefore who demolished it, and if it was demolished, who did that, and then why, right? So they have to go why. So then why would be like, oh, what, who benefited the most from this? Well, the arms dealers, the people who want
Yeah,
war,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
on.
Yeah. The
And so
one percenters.
yeah, something like that. And so then eventually, like, but I have to keep quiet, right? I have to keep quiet. I have to not tell people,
Oh
because
no, now you're out.
they might like these people who want it hidden, the truth, they might like capture me and
Kidnap
like,
you.
yeah, and kill me, right, and make me keep
Yeah.
quiet. But then
Yeah.
obviously I watched this thing from like a very public site, right, probably in YouTube or something, and like clearly there was no there was no like
No
attempt to like,
hiding.
yeah, like some random guy in the Philippines college like stumbled on it,
Why would
right?
they care about Albert? Parang ganon.
Yeah, so kind of like that didn't dawn on me, because back then I felt like I was truly special, and like I discovered this because
I'm woke.
I'm woke,
I'm curious.
I'm special,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Wait, for those who have just walked in, I think we need to do this
very
almost every
often, yeah,
time. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We're talking about conspiracy theories here, guys,
and just talking.
that we kind of bumped into or researched about before. Now, we're not necessarily talking about facts, but these are uh our recollection, I guess, of the things that we've been curious about and talked about or discussed
Yeah,
about
yeah,
like in the past. So right now we're talking about who's behind 9/11, and that the theory here is that it wasn't Al Qaeda, or perhaps Al Qaeda was paid to do it, no?
I have no idea,
Um
like,
Parang ganon, no?
yeah,
It
yeah,
was a rigged job now. And of course, and this is to me is scary because it's possible, right? And I mean, a lot of people died. I know personally people that lost family there. So nakakatakot, 'di ba, that if
yeah,
people actually decide, to do those things and to kind of create their own parang reality, right? Or movie about this, no? Na there's this terrorist group that wants to ganon ganon, and on at behind the scenes, way back, is someone's actually behind it because
pulling
he
the
wants
strings,
to,
yeah.
yeah, sell more arms, etc. It's scary. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
along
yeah,
along the lines of like, war and oil,
yeah,
and stuff like that. The other thing that I also got when I was in college was actually this free energy kind of thing, which, stuff, basically anything around shortcuts to violate that or goes against the second law of thermodynamics, right? Which is basically like perpetual motion machines. I was
Mm.
convinced that it is
Is it
possible.
even possible, Bert? Like,
Well, according to the physics that we know, it's not.
yeah,
But I mean, who knows what there's in the future that we will discover, right? But to the
yeah,
point
yeah.
right now, just ordinary physics that we have, it's not possible, according to what we know. But then I am part of this group of people who were just really trying experiments to create like gravity engines or perpetual motion
You're
machines.
part of this group. You were
Oh yeah,
saying, ano sa?
I am part of this group, which in other words is like I'm part of this online forum of free energy,
Grabe,
whatever.
grabe.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I was able to convince my dad to help me buy buy ingredients for like experiments that I would do.
Oh man,
And
you were
yeah,
serious about this.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
how
serious.
were your experiments? Sige.
Oh well, they didn't work very well,
Okay, okay.
obviously. So one of my experiments is actually doing a water powered stove, and this is funny because I actually like
Water powered stove.
yeah,
Okay.
the idea was
Steam.
to, no, steam is water, but water powered stove is more of like I would break down hydrogen and oxygen, H2O, break it down
Oh.
using some sort of process, electrolysis or whatever, or chemical process that will break it down and it will produce H2O, hydrogen and oxygen.
When did
And
you
then
do this, Bert?
I was in college. No, I was in high school. I was in high school. So
I
yeah,
didn't
just
know
so
about this.
yeah. Well, it didn't really end well. So
Not a proud moment.
it's a funny moment. I'm proud of it, but I don't know. Like it was just didn't work. So I guess not that proud of that
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
Now I'm
yeah.
proud that it's a funny story. So
Yeah.
break it down H2O, and then you would burn this and like create fire, and then that's what you would use to like cook, right?
Mm.
So that was my idea, like water powered stove. I was gonna build this out. It actually became like part of like an investigatory project that I did for school. My poor teammates, were carried down by my carelessness and my adventure, and so our grade was affected. Yeah, I felt like it was a good investigatory project because we investigated if it's possible, even if our conclusion, shortcut to the
Yeah.
end, our conclusion
Yeah.
was that it was not practical. That
Yeah.
was our conclusion. Because after so many experiments, the best I could actually get to, and I could get to it actually, was instead of like a constant flame, it was more of like a poof, poof.
And you're sure that this wasn't steam?
No, it's not steam, bro. Steam doesn't
Oh,
ignite.
sige, yes.
This was really
This
a
one's
hydrogen.
fire talaga. Like,
Yeah, this
there
is
was
fire, but
actual flickers of...
yeah, because you can convert. I mean, this is pretty well known science already that you can convert hydrogen H2O water into hydrogen and oxygen molecules. It's just a really slow process that to do it really fast, you require high amounts of energy, and then you would break it down to hydrogen and oxygen, and then you would then burn that. But the energy it then creates is nullified by the input energy that you put in
Yeah,
the form of
parang not
electricity.
feasible, no? Or it's
Yeah.
feasible, but not economical, right?
Yeah.
It
The
doesn't make
net-
sense.
Yeah, it
Oo.
doesn't make sense. The net input
Uh-uh.
is the net output after you minus the input is negative. So it's better off if you just use electricity to heat electric stove and direct show you have heat. This one was
Fire,
really it was really impractical.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was
Yeah,
that
but
was
you shouldn't have been graded low kasi
yeah,
in
I
ours
agree with
sa
that.
high school namin, bro.
I agree with that
Of
one.
course.
It
Nung
was a
high school
successful
kami,
investigation.
yeah, the grading was more towards the scientific method being followed, no? And
Right.
that's actually why we're doing these things, no? And we're curious kasi
Mhm.
I mean, we should be questioning the stuff that like
Right.
things around us are or people around us are saying, right? And if edi walang invention, there's nothing new, right? But yeah, on the extreme side, these could be parang
Yeah.
theories lang, mga ganun. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure my
Interesting.
teacher had her reasons, which was probably justified at that time. But yeah, I'm but talking here from the future. Like, you should have graded me more. At least I passed, though. I did pass that subject.
Good. Speaking of subjects or education, so this, have you ever thought, Bert, na, and this is again, guys, not necessarily a strong position of mine, no, it's just an observation, and meron ding mga conspiracy theories about this, no, na
Ooh.
education parang right now it's on purpose na nilalag siya, no? And we're like people or a group of people are actually keeping us less educated, no? And when I say
by we, who are talking about, like Philippines or like the whole world?
yeah, Philippines, bro. Na
okay.
parang ano ba? Parang, to put it simply, guys, and I'm not saying but again, it's a conspiracy theory that we parang either like the government or some powerful organization is keeping us parang bobo,
Dumb?
parang ganun.
Dumb?
Oh, dumb or less informed, I think is a better not bobo, not dumb, but less informed, no? And
Okay.
the things that are taught in school now sobrang outdated na, 'di ba? So I think dapat ina-update din 'yon yung curriculum, no? So there's this theory nga na it's, because education is really important, right? And when I say education, I don't just mean schools, right? And this is parang, eto na medyo going into reality talking. No, na. That's why
This is
there's, Oh, di ba? There's homeschooling, right? There's
Yeah, yeah.
newer ways of people teaching the kids right now, no? Merong iba't ibang ano na, hindi na yung dati na, di ba, parang I mean, the basics would always be there, like mathematics, alphabets, etc. But other things, right?
But
Kailangan pa ba yun?
what's the
Mga ganun.
reason? What's the reason why they are keeping it supposedly keeping it less informed or outdated?
Yeah,
What's
because
the goal?
obviously the more informed you are, like you could parang either question more, right? Or
Oh,
rebellion, for example. Like ultimate na, parang sobrang extreme na to. But yun nga, the more woke, I guess you are, or the more things you know about things, right? Um, ano siya, dangerous, di ba? Parang knowledge is power, and so let's keep them less informed. Parang ganun.
interesting.
I forgot where I read this or a video siguro in YouTube. Basta, well, it's important, right? And I think even in other countries that are very poor, education's very mababa din yung level, 'di ba? And there's a lot of corruption, kasi parang ano nakalimutan ko yung ratio or proportion. Ano yung tawag doon? Basta parang oh my goodness, I wish I could say the term right now. Basta parang merong relationship yung degree of education to how poor this country is actually doing, right? So yun, parang if you're dealing with less informed constituents, then it's easier, I guess, for you to,
To fool
control
them or
power.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
What
yeah,
actually
yeah,
what comes into my mind right now,
yeah.
just quote that I've read somewhere. Maybe I also forgot this exactly how it's worded, but it goes something like that. Never attribute to malice what can sufficiently be explained by stupidity or incompetence. So it's almost like
Related. Oh, medyo.
it's kind of
Oh,
like and maybe this is why conspiracy theories get born, right? Like, oh, we attribute it to like, oh, they're doing it on purpose. They're doing it and maybe like, uh, maybe
baka
they're
ano
not
lang
doing it on
talaga.
purpose. Maybe let's
Uh,
just say it's just very bureaucratic, and the whole process is just
yeah.
ridiculous because of
Totoo. No.
so
Parang we're
so
trying to find explanations for things that are happening, right? And that's why these things are kind of born, no? Parang are we being set up to fail? No? Are we intentionally being educated
yeah,
of
maybe because
lesser quality?
that's a better story to tell
Yeah.
ourselves than
Yeah.
to accept that we just failed as a country in our education system, right? Like
Oo.
I
Kasi
am just making
kasi iba na yung may kasalanan, hindi na ako. Parang
yeah,
ganun.
like
It
somebody
makes you
is
feel
screwing
better.
us, somebody
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like intentionally, then that's why we are being a victim, like we are victimized. It sounds like a better story than like, oh man, our education system really sucks and we have to do something about it, and like even if we
Yeah.
try, like we fail.
Easier to be a critic than to be the man in the arena. Parang ganon. Parang the one who can change things, no?
Okay, we're just for people just jumping in now, we're just randomly throwing out raw thoughts. We haven't thought this through. So if we say anything that offends you, that's not on purpose. Never attribute to
Yeah,
malice.
guys, this is just this is just discussion. No, and
Never
we're not.
attribute to malice what can be
Yeah,
sufficiently explained by stupidity or incompetence, which is probably what's happening right now. We're just we're not
yeah,
competent in this research investigation stuff. So
yeah. We're just
yeah.
hanging out, guys. So parang
Okay.
ano lang. I don't know. I don't. I'm hesitant na nga to call it an intellectual discussion. But yeah, I
This is not.
mean,
I feel like
pero
this is more
totoo
like
Pero I mean, there's a possibility, right? Kasi kung yun nga, if you're less informed, then you're lesser to uh parang be to be able to
true.
change the system, something like
True.
that.
If you
So
have
that
less,
part is true, right? Yeah.
that's yeah.
If it's
That's
happening,
absolutely.
we don't know,
If
but
it's
people are
happening on
calling it out.
purpose,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what's interesting, right? Because I think it's very difficult to do on purpose, but you never know, right?
yeah. What other things are you, ano, Bert? Like you kind of mentioned before we got online about um water powered vehicles, parang
Yeah,
ganon.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this was back to my free energy forums, right? There was this one thing where, so water powered stove, I made that because it's a scaled down version of a water powered car. Because essentially, a water powered car is just an engine, it's a combustion engine where the input is hydrogen and oxygen, and you burn that instead of like fuel, right? So, or instead of gas, you use hydrogen and oxygen, and it does, it works. But you need the water to convert to hydrogen and oxygen efficiently and quickly enough to be able to keep the car running. And so in this forum that we was part of, there were people who were showing their demos, right? Like of them being able to create like a prototype and so on and so on. And our heroes, like our idols, were people who, when they showed their demo, like it's completely like complete, like it's a running car, not like the just like a flame, like mine, like going poof, poof, right? This one guy was like running a car, like complete. And then the story is that this guy just disappeared from the forums
Oh.
and never heard from ever again. And so like the theory is like, oh, like the FBI or the CIA got to him, and big oil, like got to him and kept like
Yeah.
put him away, right?
Is this the same guy as the, di ba there's this Filipino inventor?
Yes,
that-
yes, I remember his name actually, Dingle. Mr.
Yeah,
Dingle.
yeah, di ba? Na,
Yeah.
yun nga, water-fueled, water-powered
Water-powered car. So he's one of the people also who are being like, showcased in that forum, right? And yeah, actually back then I really believed it. Over time, I then had doubts, right? I then had doubts because I tried to experiment myself and I was like, this is not really working. Feels like stocks, bro, to be honest. Feels like stocks. Like everybody's showing their gains, and then you try it for yourself, and they're like, it's not really working. You know what I'm talking about?
You have to have a longer view.
Yeah. It's like that.
Long-term view.
It's like, everybody's like making money except me. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Because those things dapat should be put on pedestal, right? Like it should be as game changing as the printing press, 'di ba? Kasi I mean, fuel is there, and we know, well, water din naman is a limited resource, but I think it would be easier produced than fossil fuels, no? Like
yeah, I mean, well, the output of a hydrogen power, like a water powered car, is actually water still, because you're just recombining the H2 and the O in the combustion process. So your output is still H2O in the form of steam. So
kaya pwede
technically,
siyang babalik lang siya.
you can do a closed loop system
Yeah,
on that. So
yeah.
now that's where the perpetual motion engine thing is coming in. And then
Yeah,
that's where
yeah.
it gets crazy, right? And so, but bro, there are like what, millions of engineers in the world, smart people who are working on engines and cars and chemists and
Yeah.
and people who are really smart.
Yeah.
And they're
The ones that decided to build an electric car, like Elon Musk.
yeah. But okay, a hydrogen fuel cell car is essentially that.
Yeah.
But instead of producing the H2, the hydrogen,
Okay.
and the oxygen from water on the car, on the fly, on demand, what they do with the hydrogen fuel cell is they actually produce the hydrogen in a center in a facility elsewhere. Then they store the hydrogen in tanks. And then they then give that to you as fuel. And then that's when you then feed it into your fuel cell, which then the fuel cell converts the H2 back into water, combines with oxygen, and produces electricity as a result. Right? So that's the process. So now it's like, oh, the conspiracy theory here is like, oh, now like because they can sell it to you, it's now like that's the way to do it. Like, but essentially the same thing. It's H2O combination. But because you produce the H2 off-site in a centralized location, you store it in tanks, then you can sell it.
Yeah,
Right?
kasi
Like-
may production line, there's
Yes.
the process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you have to sell it. But water you can get from anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Ito na yung decentralization, Bert.
Yeah,
You should be able to have your own machine that converts and splits H2O to hydrogen,
Yeah,
etc. Yeah.
But the science, bro, after I've looked at it for quite some time, it's very, the energy required to split H2 and O is also its energy output, very close energy output. So it's an inefficient process, meaning the energy you spend to split H2O is more than the energy you get after you put them back
Yeah,
together.
like what you said earlier, parang negative. Oo, oo.
Yeah, net negative effect.
Yeah.
And so then it doesn't make sense in that setting. There will probably be efficiencies in the long run, of doing something. But yeah, after I looked more into it over many years, I kind of like was convinced that okay, I was too optimistic back then. I was so like, I don't know what you call it, dreamy eyed, like like so just like I was so exposed to this, and I ate it all up. I think it's good, and it's not all bad, right? But
Yeah.
it really fueled my wonder, right? It fueled my wonder, my push for exploration, and pushing the boundaries of the science that I knew, rebelling a bit in a certain sense, but then was being held back by reality. Well, the good thing was I guess that I didn't keep just talking about it. But I actually went hands on and tried it, and then was seeing different results than what I was expecting. And that's a good part. Then the other one, bro, is Nikola Tesla.
Okay,
So
okay.
Nikola Tesla invented electricity. No, no, no. Accurately, he invented alternating current, right?
Yeah, yeah, I see.
AC electricity. Um, and so, but Nikola Tesla had like a lot of other like inventions that in drawings, right? In drawings and so on, or unfinished projects. And there are many of these things like his death ray, the vibrating machine that like almost can create earthquakes, like, and there's like this giant tower off in New York, Long Island, that can basically like when it's powered up, it can power the entire world wirelessly using
Okay.
the crust of the earth as a conducting material, like
Not
that. Those
dangerous. Anyways.
Well, but alternating current sounds dangerous as well, right? Like, so, I mean, like, it is dangerous actually, literally. But these were like now we use alternating
What's
current.
the theory?
Well, the theory is because these were all unfinished, so therefore, like the government stopped him. Like, Westinghouse, which was his investor, for building the dam in Niagara to power New York, right? To power New York. Actually, this one's true. Or at least as history says it is. Right, like when they built the power grid, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Nikola Tesla says, "Wait, I have a version 2. This was better. In fact, we can transmit electricity wirelessly." And so the investor goes, "We just invested millions of dollars into this wired system. There's no way to meter this wireless system.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm shutting it down." Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's how it didn't get completed. And yeah, that's where I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna become an electrical engineer. I'm gonna continue the footsteps of Nikola Tesla in the footsteps, and I try to be even just half the man of who he is. That's actually how my story begins of my IT career, right? Like I wanted to become an electrical engineer, but college was difficult. I mean, it's expensive, and so not expensive actually, but we just didn't have money at that time. So then I got a scholarship, and it was only business or IT, and I ended up taking up IT because I didn't want to take up business. And then I realized, oh, I'm so lucky that I ended up in the IT industry.
Totoo. I mean, it's very close, right? Like being in IT is also like engineering, di ba? Parang it's software building lang, no? So versus more physical, I guess, and tangible things. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
in software, we build like virtual worlds that have impact on the real world. But I do still have a strong appreciation for like people who invent stuff in the real world. Like because, for example, inventing a quantum computer, bro, that would be life changing. That would be like game changing.
Yeah, there are quantum computers, but they're not parang
Practical.
at the same level mo ng
They can't solve practical problems yet.
Yeah.
But when they do, that would be like game changing. And for me, that's a physical invention, bro.
Sobra. Yeah. You mentioned about virtual worlds, Bert, and there's this. Again, I don't know if it's a theory, but yeah, it could be.
It's a theory, not a conspiracy.
It is a theory. It's not a conspiracy, but it is a theory.
I think I know what you're talking about. Go.
like we're in a simulation.
Uh-huh.
No, I also recall you, Bert, na yeah, parang before in Cebu, you were saying na at times you're thinking that the whole world is like a simulation and you're the only real person.
I remember
Yep.
thinking this, yeah. So
Oo, parang
so
sinabi mo yun eh.
conceited way of thinking, right?
I
Egocentric way of
am.
thinking.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm the
yeah.
only real one, everybody else is fake, right? Like,
Yeah. Pero ang ano dito is parang like deja vus are actually glitches in that simulation,
ooh.
right? Na parang you're seeing it happen because 'di ba parang 'di ba have you played like MMORPGs or even
Yes, I
like
have.
any
Yeah.
game? Oo, 'di ba? So para 'di ba para mas magiging less laggy yung system, they only render at
What you
times
can
nga
see.
what's in front of you lang 'di ba, and
Yeah.
whatever is in the horizon. They don't render everybody kasi masyadong sobrang lag. So ang theory dito is that we're in the simulation 'di ba? So
Yeah.
just like yung parang the Matrix 'di ba na
Yeah.
nag-glitch siya na those things no wait nag fast forward ako. 'Di ba? So in a game for example na maraming tao, nire-render ka agad yon yung area na yon kasi nandun ka. Pero yung mga lesser explored areas, no, it takes a while to load and something. And
Uh-huh.
eto, yung mga deja vus now are like that, no, na something, you're seeing something happening or even parang mga ghosts, right? Because the simulation has an error or something. So it
That's a
has to be,
glitch.
oh, so what if daw that we're actually in the future now, but
And we're
we're
just coming
in a
back to watch our past.
no, we're in the future in some way, but living a virtual world na it's just a simulation, no? Na
What a
maybe
sucky life I
it
chose,
is
Mike.
it's scary. Oh, this is the
Like,
ano, this is the one that's dealt to
yeah.
you.
Interesting. If that's true, like I was like, oh my gosh, why did I choose this life? Right?
No,
Like, why did
someone
I?
chose it for you. This is the ano na nga, this is the
Oh,
theory
so it's
that
like more
a
of like the
super
Matrix.
yes, it is, no, na parang it's kind of like the Matrix, but it's like yun nga, 'di ba? Parang I mean, if we put it very simply, like we believe in God, 'di ba? And what
Mm-mm.
if there's this more sinister version of him, right? That made this simulation and decided in code that Jerb's gonna be functioning this way, he's gonna marry Marcy, etc. Parang yun nga, para in the Bible or in the more biblical context, it's like predestination, 'di ba? Parang
Mhm.
programmed na. So,
Mhm.
ganun din yung theory na to, no, na what if our maker is actually, simulating a world, no? And there could be parallel worlds or parallel simulations.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's crazy, no? And but technologically, parang parang pwede, 'di ba? Parang I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
future, but yun nga, parang
I remember
it's
this short film. I remember this
yeah.
short film that basically, like, the short film was a premise of like when you die, you get into this holding lobby. Like you're in this holding lobby where like okay, you're gonna go to your next life, right?
Mm,
You go to the
mm.
next life. You just 5 minutes there. You're waiting to be loaded into your next life, and then your next life is actually like somebody else in history. So you're essentially living
Ooh.
a billion lives over a period of time. And the question is why? Why do you do that? It's actually to help you like grow as a person so that after you've lived a billion lives, you become mature because you've lived a billion lives, you become mature and now you're ready to enter society. Like the
Ooh.
actual society,
So
right? Like it's
parang you're in a simulation para parang i-train ka, and then after
yeah.
you're ready, you get
Yeah.
parang parang ano, parang maze runner, no? Parang ganun. Parang
Yeah, so you live a billion lives, and so for example, if you've killed somebody, you know the position of that killer because you were that person, and then at some point after, you also become the person you killed,
pero
right?
paano yan, Bert? Kasi consciousness doesn't transfer eh. So in this scenario though, parang many consciousness distributed across a billion years, and then it gets downloaded to you when you're ready? Parang
No, no,
ganun?
no, 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 no. The concept here is you're in a simulation. right?
Oh, oh, oh,
And
oh,
since
oh.
another premise here is that's predestination, meaning you don't really have control over the simulation. You just think you have control, but you're really an observer, right? Like right now, me talking is actually already pre-done, pre-programmed. That I will say these things, but
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
am in it to experience it, not in it to
Yes.
control it. But I do have the illusion of control, and then I
Yeah.
lived out my whole life, right? And everything that
Yeah.
I've done. So now, in that sense, after I exit, I now have empathy for the type of person I am. Like at least for Albert. The
Pero
next life,
your consciousness as Albert gets transferred to your next life. So you being a
no,
CTO
no, no, no,
now.
no. No, it doesn't gets retained when you're in the lobby. But when you go back in, you start fresh.
Ah,
Or
interesting.
so when you go back, you start fresh.
Interesting.
And then in between lives, you remember you know. But when you're in the life, you don't know. Right?
Ah,
And
so
then
when you're plugged, it's like you're in
yeah,
the game, you're playing a character, 'di ba?
yes.
And
You're
your
just immersed in
reality
that.
is whatever is okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then when you come back out, so now after living like billions of lives and been every person in history, be the receiving end of oppression or being the oppressor, you've you've have so much perspective and insight. In fact, you have complete or almost complete perspective and insight that you
Yeah,
are now
supposedly,
mature.
if have lived a billion years, ewan ko
Yeah.
na lang kung hindi ka magiging
Yeah, not only a billion years, but you've lived a billion lives.
a billion lives. Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Many
yeah.
billion lives. And so now you come out and you are now mature, like you're wise and you're now ready to enter society.
Yeah, parang
Right?
mas seasoned ka na, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Literally, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Parang yeah, and you're able to parang your conceptions about good and evil, they're more complete, right?
Yeah,
About
yeah.
mga ganon. Okay, interesting. Gusto kong panoorin yung movie na yan. Ano kaya? Ano kaya yan?
I forgot the title. It was a short film. I just saw it on YouTube, I think. It's one of those things that you end up watching on a late Saturday night, like randomly. Like, oh, what's this? Oh,
I
oh.
often stumble upon those things like almost every night. If I can be honest. Parang parang random things, no? Because I'm really curious about stuff talaga, no? Like
Yeah, yeah.
like even I remember like very young age, my toys would always end up being destroyed because I try
Same,
to
same.
open them
Yeah.
and then I really talaga tinker with it talaga and then ibabalik ko siya. And most of the time I don't get to return them
Yeah.
to their good form or the working form. But yeah, similar na parang gusto ko lang mas matuto, parang ganun.
This reminds me of
Yeah.
the meme, bro. There's this meme, right, where you have a toy car, right?
Aha.
First, like toy car, and you're like not yet a genius, right? And then there's the next scene is like a dynamo with like a battery and like it spins something. You're like
Aha.
engineer, right? Like as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, I
Oh
built that.
yeah. Oh yeah. Hindi na manual. I don't have to push it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah.
I know. That's interesting. Oh, remind me actually. The premise, or I remember, I think Elon Musk was the one who described this about the simulation thing, was that you know how games are right now, right? The games, the video quality of games has improved so much over many years, and it's only been like
Yeah.
what 50 years. We went from Snake or Pong to now like virtual reality, where it's
Yeah, dude,
like
literally like a blink, right? You could
yeah,
say in the same lifetime pa nga. And if you put that into perspective of history, the
it's very
advancements
small.
of the recent years very
Very big
yeah.
in very small amount of time. So in
Yeah.
100, so if that is the acceleration of virtual reality quality, what do you think will be the quality of virtual reality in like 100 years? Will we be
Uh-huh.
able to distinguish it from reality?
Yeah.
And the answer for that is actually no, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
mahirap.
and then so now the question is, how can you say that hasn't happened before? And so that's the premise of like the chances are we are actually living in a simulation is so high because to actually think that we are the first version that actually creates the simulation
Yeah.
is so low for us to be the
Yeah,
first. So that
Yeah,
it's actually a
yeah.
higher chance that we're actually in a simulation instead of being. Yeah, it's interesting. So that's
Yeah,
that's
ang ano nga dito is there could be many simulations pa, no? And ito na nga yung concept that crossing over to parallel worlds na it could be that the gerb of that, I don't know, universe B123 is like Elon Musk pala siya, di ba? Parang, kasi, you know,
I like this simulation, bro.
iba, yeah, I like that one too. I like that one too. Or pwede ring possible na ako is, you know, a very horrible person in some other version, right?
In
I mean,
parallel world, yeah.
our decisions are affected, no, our future is affected by our daily decisions and minute by minute, diba? Second by second. So, yun, if I were to take this versus this, ganun, diba? Parang, and it could be that those are things are played out in another dimension, I guess, na parang, ano yun, parang, choose your own adventure, diba? Parang,
Yeah.
siguro connected din dun sa sinabi mo na you get to live a billion lives is na-try mo na tong route na to, is there an alternative ending? Di ba? Parang ganon. But while you're in the game, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. Interesting. Interesting. Very,
I don't know.
Ano
I
bang-
didn't expect we would end up here.
same. Pero thought-provoking at the very least, no? Parang, may not be true, but it's a fun, discussion. And I think, parang, curiosity is should be I think totoo ba? No, I was gonna say something na I think that's what separates us from other animals. Pero animals are also curious, right? So hindi pala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy we had this conversation. I'm happy if anybody actually joined us on this one. This was a fun episode for me. I liked it.
Yeah. Ako din, parang relax lang, no? And again, guys, we're not stating facts here. It's really more like observations or what we've come to kind of know based on what we've read or seen online, and not necessarily truth, right? Or we don't necessarily believe in them, but something to ponder upon. And parang, yun nga, it makes you feel small or makes you feel like I don't know a lot of things, no? So, and which is true. Yeah. How do you want to close this, Bert? I don't know how. This episode.
I don't know. I'm just actually this episode has kind of like made me question about life, right? Like, right, about time travel. You mentioned about like we've been visited before, and it kind of like made me ask many things. And it resurfaced the thoughts about like, okay, if we're living in a simulation. So those are just interesting things that I feel my mind now. I think why maybe the way we close it is there are maybe like thoughts or advice for people. Maybe this one. In the concept of conspiracy theories, I kind of view conspiracy theories as, or just theories in general. They're fun and they're perspectives, right? They're theories, they're perspectives, and especially now in the age of the internet and information, there are many theories.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes where I would say I made a mistake, or what I grew out of while I was going through this process of learning, right, over the many years, is I realized that I made mistakes by just listening to one side. I think it's really like just being like, in that 9/11 truth forum, where I was just like bombarding myself with one perspective, because who knows, it could be true or there's some truth to it. I don't know. But to only bombard myself with that and to fill myself up with that and just be in that, they would call this like an echo chamber or like echo bubble or a bubble, like, you're just exposed to that. It's like you only, it's very limiting, and actually chances are your perspective is very limited and it's not the complete truth, or could even be at worst like, or is actually not true at all.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest to people is to explore more. Go beyond your own bubbles, right? And this goes from like issues of today, and very obvious. You have politics, you have science skeptics, you have flat earth versus round earth. Can't believe that's still happening actually.
Meron pang Bert, like COVID-19 came from a lab. There's also that theory. Yeah,
there's also that. And I think at the end of the day, what's really important is that we don't lose the relationships that we have with people, and we have mature conversations about it, and we can talk
Yeah.
about it in a manner where we can see another perspective from another person,
Yeah.
and not lose our relationships in the process, and not also
Yeah.
just be so fixated in our perspective, but have a continuous open mind.
Yeah. 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 This goes back an episode where you mentioned now one of the things that you learned or are you're continuing to work on also is like listening to people, no? Parang
Yes.
understanding the other side. So similar, no? Na what you're saying now, na be open, right? And the important things are your relationships with people, right? And
Yeah.
So, yan,
I, I
itatay back ko
actually
doon.
I actually
Go
remember
ahead.
this guy. I'll end with this story. I remember, this is a true story. I remember I have a friend. Um,
Totoo na to guys, hindi na to
yeah, this
theory.
is true. I have a friend, and I went to their house one time, and he was so excited to tell me, like, these theories that he had and discovered in the internet. At first, I was kind of like, "What? This is so crazy." He was talking about like lizard people. Like, he was saying basically Mark Zuckerberg is an alien. He's a lizard.
Oo
So
nga, meron nga yan,
he's
something
actually
going
like
on. Yeah.
a lizard, and then at first I thought he was joking, but then as he was talking more about it, I started to realize that he was actually really convinced that this was the truth. And he started to talk to me about like so many other things. Like I was actually getting overwhelmed. But he was talking about everything. But you know what? What I really liked about that moment was how he was okay that I was just listening to him, and how he was okay with actually me not immediately believing about what he was saying, or he was just here to share it, and his excitement was there. And to be honest, I really enjoyed that moment, because
Yeah.
there was this one person who was sharing his perspective, and he was okay with me disagreeing with him, because I was like, no way, no. It's like, it's okay, yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but it's okay, right? Like, I'm just sharing to you like what I think. And I love that, because I feel like there's so many people around nowadays that if they share something and if you disagree with them, they immediately hate you.
Parang black
Eh,
and white lang, no? And because you're not black dun sa opinion,
yeah.
uh, I don't like you anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
like you
yeah.
anymore. But I didn't feel any of that with him. Like it didn't even affect the way we conversed after at all.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
kind of really wanted to listen to him more, just because it was so freeing to listen to him, because it didn't matter if at the end of his pitch, because he wasn't pitching, right? It didn't matter
Yeah.
to him that if at the end of this pitch or his story that I was convinced and I would side with him or whatever, or I would agree with him. He didn't care about it. He just wanted to share to me what he thought, and he wanted to know what I thought about it. And I told him like, kind of hard to actually, like, I don't think so, man. Like, and then he was like, he was okay with it. It was so cool. And I was like, wow, I'd like to be that person.
Yeah. 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 Totoo. And naalala ko din yung ano, yung Star Trek that you shared, no, na yun nga, because the basic needs are already provided. It's exploration that's the
Yeah,
end
that
goal
would
of
be nice.
humanity. And I think that's wired with us eh. I don't know if in the simulation or not, but exploration, no, discovering things. I think we need to do that more often. And like what you said, no, no, actually not what you said, but parang I guess if I may take what you shared kanina, no, if there is a forum to, healthy discussions about these things, no, be kind about receiving people's opinions or what they've talked about. Parang just be open in general. I think that's a good ano nga, I don't know if it's a skill to have, but something to practice,
Definitely.
no? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's
At
a
on
skill
the
because
other
it's
end naman, yeah, go. Sorry, Bert. Sorry, you were
I
saying.
said it's a skill. I agree with you. It's a skill because it's something to develop.
Yes, the other one naman is not believing din right away, right? Like fake news is very
True.
dangerous, 'di ba? So these things that like for example, uh if you're not super sure yet, right? Do your research, 'di ba? Parang look at these things, no, stay curious, be open, but yun din parang on the other side, be careful, I guess, no? Kasi like for example, kanina kami ni Albert, that's why we always had a lot of disclaimers kasi we don't want to spread false truths, right? So
False
um
truths. I like how you said that.
okay, mali nga yan, no? So fake news na lang. So oxymoron, false truths. But yeah, so
But
be
bro,
careful,
you
I guess. Yeah.
here they were kind of like, ancient aliens. National Geographic kind of beat us to the punch. So it's not like this is new things that we're making up.
Oo nga naman, oo nga naman, oo nga naman. These are just two brains, discussing in a simulation. Anyways,
Thank you, everyone. I think we can end
salamat
here.
guys. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
hanging
everyone.
out with us this Saturday evening. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I enjoyed this as much as you did, Bert. So
Definitely did. Yeah.
thank you, thank you. You actually entertained this idea of mine to talk about this one. So see you
I'm
guys
glad we
next
did this.
week, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
So you want to work in big tech companies like Google and Facebook, or create your own startup like Airbnb and Instagram? OmniQuotient is here to help. OmniQuotient is an online learning platform where you can learn something new from prominent developers every day while creating meaningful connections with them. Just go to omniquotient.com. Follow the topics that you want to learn and the developers you want to learn from. Share your tips and tricks in coding and interact with other developers. Join the OmniQuotient community today.